Hi, how are you?
I'm good. It's been a whirlwind trying to keep up with you for what, weeks now. Eh, Have your feet touched the ground at all?
I think today is probably the first day where I've actually just, had a chance to sit down and reflect on everything that's been going on over the last couple of weeks. So today they're just about on the ground.
Have you had a lie-in since what, two months ago now, since it all started?
Um, well, I was up probably at 9 o'clock this morning, which is probably a lie-in. Over the last few weeks, we start our days fairly early when we're on hockey trips, and then last weekend with the race, I mean, I don't think I got any sleep. So
I'll bet
yeah,
you
I think
didn't.
today was a bit of a lie-in.
Well, first of all, congratulations. I don't know when people say congratulations to you now, you're probably, well, what do you mean? The hockey or the silver medal or the race we just raced? So since that happened most recently, let's start with the race because that just happened this past weekend. And you I mean you had so little time to prepare for this, but you had a killer car and gear. I mean you went all out and you got tremendous support for it, Nicci. I mean that probably was exceeding your expectations when you started this, what, 10 weeks ago when you got the idea to do this.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't think the weekend could have gone any better, to be honest. And like you said, it exceeded all expectations for us. We started the project about 10 weeks ago, and I suppose I knew I was going to be away for at least a month of it with the World Cup. So it kind of didn't, it shortened the time then again that we had to try and prepare and organize everything that we wanted. But, between Emma and Darren, who was kind of the main guy behind the two of us, he pulled out all the stops, and honestly, on and off the track, it was just a huge success. And our tent was jam packed with people all weekend. So yeah, it was just amazing, the turnout.
Formula Females has made its mark now and got quite a bit of attention, didn't it? Yeah, leading up to this, and then of course during the race weekend itself. But getting into a car and going at racing speed, it's not something you just step off the street and do. You had to get a license. You had to train, obviously. How much track experience did you have before you actually raced?
Absolutely none. um, None. No, I'd obviously been to Mondello for God years and years and years, and I've seen cars go around it for hundreds and hundreds of laps, but I'd never actually been around it myself. So it was a totally new experience for me and for Em. I think she had maybe done a couple of laps before, a couple of years ago, but no, we were both fairly new to the actual getting behind the wheel, and yeah, we took to it fairly well. In fairness to us, we had a couple of track days. Once we got our license and all that sort of stuff, we had a couple of track days where we got a few laps around it, and honestly, we both got up to speed fairly quickly. So I think that excited us even more to kind of go, okay, yeah, this is going well. Can't wait for the actual race weekend now. But yeah, straight from the side of the track to on the track with
Oh,
no experience.
and we should remind everybody, Emma Dempsey, of course, was your partner in crime for this. You both got racing in your blood. Just remind everybody why you were doing this, Nicci.
Yeah, so myself and Emma, we grew up together. We're 6 days apart in age. Our fathers both raced against each other and competed against each other for years. I mean, going on maybe 10, 12 years racing against each other. So um, we knew each other. We both came from really strong racing backgrounds. And it's always been a passion for the two of us to want to race. We've always wanted to do a race. And it kind of came together one night. We were hanging out or whatever, and Emma said, "Why don't we do a race?" And for me, I've always wanted to do something. My dad passed away in 2002 from cancer, and I've always wanted to do something in memory of him. And I just thought, okay, if I'm going to get behind the wheel of a car, well, he's the first person I think of when I think about doing that. So I tried to tie in that with the race, and that's when we came up with Formula Females. And obviously, to do it in his honour, we did it in aid of the Irish Cancer Society. So it became Formula Females Race Against Cancer. And that was sort of where it all started from.
And you raised a bit of cash too. You tell everybody what's the total right now that you've raised, Nicci?
So we set ourselves a target, in such a short window that we had to try and raise €4,000. And once again, we exceeded it, and we've raised over 6,000. So at the minute, we're sitting on €6,600, and the Just Giving page is still open. So people are still making donations, which is great because, it's going to a great cause in the Irish Cancer Society. And I think, of all the people that came down, almost all of them had been affected in some way by cancer. So it's a really great cause, and hopefully we can make a difference.
Yeah, for sure. And just let's go back to the track, because I'm sure people are curious as what kind of speed you got up to, and how long you were racing for, because the races are all different lengths, or timed or laps, aren't they? Explain that, why that was the right race for you, and how it was scheduled, and what kind of speeds you actually did. And we also want to know the results. I know the results, but you have to tell everybody where you finished.
Okay. Well, we decided we'd do it. Last weekend was actually Mondello Park's 50th anniversary. And so they had a huge turnout. They wanted to try and get as many cars over the last 50 years to be represented over the weekend. We chose the Future Classics category because we thought that it was the best category for us. We had 36 cars out, so it was going to be competitive. There's going to be a lot of racing involved. And the guys all within that series have been really friendly and welcoming to us. So it just sort of seemed like the perfect fit. So with such a jam-packed weekend of, certain amount of races going on, we only had short sort of windows of practice and races. So our races were only 15 minutes each, which meant we got about 7 or 8 laps in total. But it was on a long track, so I think it was nearly 2.5 miles long, which means you're out there for almost 2 minutes at a time. Wow. So there was plenty of driving. It was just 7 laps might seem like a short amount of time, but actually it was a long enough stint when you're going at speeds at over 100 miles an hour. So 100 miles an hour is probably the top speed coming down the straightaway. But I suppose it's more the cornering speeds that you're not particularly used to. You take corners a hell of a lot faster than you would on the roads, and that's probably the most exciting part.
Well, I would hope so. But when you get on the track and then get in a car that can do those speeds, though, what is it that automatically shifts you up into a gear, no pun intended, into that racing gear that you can go 100 miles an hour suddenly? What is it that motivates you and then drives you? God, there's too many puns here, Nicci.
I don't know. I think it's just honestly the thrill of it. Like it's like nothing else that I do or in life kind of gives you that same thrill. And you're kind of when you put the helmet on, you get in, you're sort of in this little quiet place. Like you can barely hear anything, even though you can hear the engine going. It's sort of like you're free to do whatever you want, sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, especially when you're racing and you're so close to the other guys and you see them at the speeds that maybe they enter in at, you kind of go, oh, okay, I can go that fast too. And it just brings a new element then to how fast you can actually go. So, yeah.
Did you get nervous or just adrenaline excited?
Oh, nervous. I've never been so nervous in my whole life. My left foot sitting on the clutch was literally hopping up and down. I could barely keep the bite. I thought I was going to stall the car. I was so nervous. Oh, incredible. And people were turning around to me being like, you've just won a silver medal. How can you be nervous? And I was like, I don't know, but I've never felt this nervous in my whole life. So yeah, definitely a lot of nerves were there. But once I got off the line, I was grand. You slip straight into it again. And yeah, you just head on your way and keep it in.
Yeah, keep your foot down. So has this made you hungry to do more racing?
Definitely. Yeah, I think both myself and Emma, we probably underestimated ourselves a little bit before we went out, and we both came back in kind of going, oh, that was fun and that was good, and we were both fairly competitive. We were making passes, we were proper racing with the guys that have done it all year. So it was encouraging for us to know that we could go out and compete with these lads that do it on a full-time basis, and it was encouraging for us to to see for ourselves that we actually don't need to underestimate ourselves, that we actually are well able for it. So motorsport is very expensive, and in order to sort of get into the level in which I work, you're looking at a budget of $1.5 million to race those cars. So you wouldn't be going in there sort of with no experience. You'd want to be fairly sure that you're going to either make it as a racing driver, or at least making sure you've got plenty of experience and plenty of money. So No, I think for myself and Emma, we've always wanted to race, and it's, the style of racing that we were doing, the class we were in, is much more suited to us for having very little experience. But it doesn't mean that we won't be ambitious and see how far we can go. Of course we will. But in terms of stepping into like an Indy car or an Indy Lights car, I think we're not quite that good yet.
Okay, all right. Well, you can work up to that. You've got the inside track, of course, with your uncle as well, Derek Daly. And will you be back in the
Yeah.
States then pretty soon, Nicci, to carry on with your racing career?
Yeah, I was actually only on to Ricky this morning, who's the team owner of Juncos Racing, and because I was due to go back this week with them, but I've had a lot on, obviously, and I didn't expect to kind of come back with a silver medal from the World Cup, so there's been a lot of attention on us as the players over the last couple of weeks, and